Harmonizers, welcome to this exciting video where I'm going to get on Valiente for the very first time. As you know, his long lining has been going super duper well, which means that he's taking cues from me behind him. His cantering's going well on the line. So I figure why not, let's try and hop on. I don't have a saddle on him. I'm just gonna leave his saddle pad on. We're not planning to do a whole lot in his first ride. We'll just see if he can accept me sitting on his back and see if he can feel relaxed with that. And maybe we'll go for a walk. I'm not really sure, but it's pretty exciting. So be part of this journey with me. What are we doing? He says, let's go. I'm going to take you guys through this video, and I contemplated speeding some pieces up for you guys, but the whole ride was only about 14 minutes. So I'm just going to share with you guys the whole thing as it actually happened, because I think it'd just be really interesting for you to see just how quickly he progressed and how well things went on. So to start off with, I just am rubbing all over, which I had done stuff like this at a mounting block before and had worked on being above him and giving him a cookie at the side. So he's already pretty good at that, and you can see that he's thinking, let's go to the side. And there's times before where I felt like I'm pretty ready to just go ahead and get on him, but didn't, because I didn't have my helmet with me. And I'm a big believer in wearing helmets when you're getting on horses. You never know, they could just trip and fall and you might fall off, or something might happen, especially when we're starting them under saddle. So the first thing that I always do is get on and get off the opposite side, and he was totally okay with that. So then now I'm trying to stay on him a little bit longer and then getting off. So getting on and getting off just helps the horse to realize what the process is kind of all about and helps to stop them from getting too overwhelmed. So we did that for a couple times there, and then now I've got him on his right side closest to me, and I'm going to give him a cookie on the other side. So I haven't actually worked too much on this with him. I've mostly worked on the left side, mostly just because for the competition I'm going to be doing stuff from the left side, and so just to keep it easier, we were doing most of our practice there. So I hadn't done this side just yet, but I don't want to get on without having him exposed to that side. I like to have my horses trained from both sides. It just makes them more confident all around, makes them more prepared. So that was a little bit different for him to understand. And you can see he's looking to the right side there where he usually gets a treat. But he's pretty smart, and he figured out pretty quickly that he can get a cookie from the left side of his body too. So I'm just getting on and off. And we're just using, that's just a normal saddle pad with the surcingle, the lunging surcingle on it. And that's what I use when I've been driving him from the ground. So he's had lots of experience with driving from the ground, not with anything attached to him, but just with me driving behind him. And he's been totally good with that. So he's pretty aware of what the cues are for going and turning and all that kind of stuff. And so now it's just a matter of sitting on his back. And it kind of slid to the side when I got off before there, just because it's not super tight. Like, it's a little tinsy bit too big for him, but because I'm not putting any weight on it, and even if it does slide around his belly, it's not, there's no harm going to be done. There's no stirrups or anything hanging down to get caught on. So, and really I'm just doing this because I wasn't originally going to get on him, but then some people showed up and were willing to videotape me. So I said, oh, okay, well, the opportunity's here, so let's get on, rather than going out to get the saddle. And I didn't want to get on him for the first time without somebody present in the barn, just for safety's sake. I didn't think anything bad would happen, because Valiente has been giving me a lot of signs that have kind of told me that he's ready for me to get on his back. But nonetheless, it's smarter to have somebody down at the barn with me. So even though I could set up my camera on a tripod, just better to have an actual person there. So that went really well. So now I'm just going to get on him again from a different angle spot. I didn't want him to be right in the corner when I asked him to go forward or turn for the first time. Usually when we're going to ask a horse to move for the first time, it's best to do it off of a turn. And being able to do all of this bending of the horse from either side is really, really key in helping to keep them relaxed, and also to keep kind of control of the situation. So here I'm asking him to turn a little bit, and he starts to kind of move a couple steps. So I just praise him, and you never really know how a horse is going to react that first moment when they move with your weight on their back, it could be potentially overwhelming for them, or it might be no big deal. Sometimes they scoot a little bit, sometimes they don't. Now, he's pretty well prepared in terms of I've done a lot of groundwork, I've done a lot of moving him around, but it still doesn't quite give the full experience for the horse until you actually have a human who wiggles and moves and weighs significantly more than a blanket or something else that you've put on them. So I'm just asking to move a couple little steps, and then I'm offering him rewards for not getting upset and not getting too worried. And you can see I'm giving the cookies on different sides of his body, getting him to bend, and he's standing a little bit parked out right now, meaning his legs are a little bit kind of far apart. And he's backing up, and I'm just sitting there chilling. I'm not pulling on the reins. I'm not getting upset with him. And he's looking for another cookie. And I just give him a little scratch and say thank you. And I don't want him to get too much caught up in this backing up and looking for treats type of thing. But I definitely do not want to get rough with him and say, like, you bad horse, why would you back up kind of thing. Because I want him to understand that there's no reason to get panicked and no reason to freak out. That's really key right now, is we just need him to be calm and thinking, yeah, this is a pretty good deal. There's nothing wrong with this. So I just did a little bit of turning him and then just sitting and chilling out. As you can see, there are other people riding horses in their ring at the same time. And there he actually went forward when I asked him to go forward. So I'm like, okay, let's reward you here. And I find with our horses, if we can be very rewarding in the beginning, then you're able to progress pretty quickly. And I always let my horses tell me what they're ready for. And so he was totally fine with me at the mounting block, totally fine with me sitting on his back. So I'm like, okay, let's try moving a little bit. He feels pretty good. He hasn't given me any real like, eek, that's uncomfortable. He's confused. You can see him moving all over the place, but he's not doing anything that's telling me like, oh, this is really scary, really intimidating. Not sure that I can do this. It's more of a, like this is different. What do I do now kind of thing. He's looking for cookies. He's not really sure how to get his cookies. And I'm asking him to move forward and just kind of getting a little bit of forward momentum, offering him a reward. I don't set an agenda of, we will get forward walking, because like if he had been upset with me just getting on and getting off at the beginning step, then I would just stop. Like I would get that better, and then I would stop at that level of training or that piece. He's totally okay. So we're progressing and we're doing some walking, getting some cookies along the way. And you can see he's pretty comfortable here moving forward. That's looking really good. He's kind of defaulting back to the mounting block because that's where he associates me being on his back, and he associates a lot of comfort there because he gets rewarded. He gets food rewards pretty often when we're over there if I'm working on getting him to stand close to the block. And so he's kind of drifting back there and wanting to be like, hey, if we go back here, do you want to get off and we can kind of play that game again and get more cookies? I don't really have to do anything when I'm over there. So instead, I'm like, okay, let's like try and walk now away from the mounting block a little bit. Offered some positive reinforcement there again. And he kind of was looking at the little stuffed bear a little bit on the floor. And that will happen sometimes when their emotions get ramped up a little bit, and then things that don't typically bother them, they tend to sometimes get bothered. Up on the pedestal, which he's done lots of times on the ground with nobody on his back, but this is his first time doing, well, it's his first ride ever, and his first time doing that. So he gets up and he gets down, and I choose to reward him here for having his bum up on the block because it's his first time taking me up onto something like that, and that can feel very weird. It's a lot of weight that you're taking with you. You might feel unstable a little bit, so I was pretty happy with how he handled that. Giving him a little bit more cookies there for walking forward. And I want him to just be thinking like, man, like when she's on my back, life is pretty good. There's nothing to be worried about. I'm still combining what he knows on the ground with his skills now into riding, where it's really key that when I'm doing the groundwork and we're doing a lot of driving, that I'm using my words and being able to tell him walk on or trot. And he's kind of used to all that steering from behind him too, so that really helps. So you can see he gets a little bit sticky sometimes, kind of stops a little bit, gets a little started again. And we're just seeing typical, he doesn't understand behavior. So there's no reason, like, I don't understand why some people just get rough with the horses, because when they're not understanding, the answer is to clarify, not to get really assertive. And I would rather my horses slow down and think rather than get explosive or get worried. So I really don't want to encourage anything like that in his behavior. So we're doing pulls, which is a pretty easy task for him when we're on the ground, offering some positive reinforcement. And I just want him to walk away thinking like, man, that was a really great session. Riding is fun. Riding means rewards. Riding is no big deal. Rather than if I was like, well, he's not going to get any treats while I'm in the saddle, or he's going to do this many laps of trot or walk or whatever it is, then that doesn't really set your horse up to really crave having these sessions. And we'll get there. We're going to add in more things as the training goes along. But in the first few sessions, at the very least, you want your horse thinking like, man, that's a pretty good deal. This is pretty fun. This is pretty good. So that way your horse is more open to taking direction and also more excited to see you in the future for the sessions that you're doing. We don't want them to get annoyed or pissed off with us. We want them to stay in that thinking frame of mind where they're receptive to new ideas and being suggested where they should go next. So this is all looking super fantastic. One of the things that impresses me the most is that the girls were deciding to kind of clump together there and standing still together, and he's able to actually go off away from them and still accomplish some things. So this is pretty awesome. He ends up getting 4 feet up on the bridge, kind of stumbles around a little bit there. He's trying. I ask him to try it again, and again he kind of stumbles a little bit unsure. So I just kind of stick with it for just a couple of moments. Like really, if you time that was really short. That was like less than 15 seconds. And it was just allowing him a little bit of an opportunity to play with his balance now that he's got me on his back. So he kind of went a little bit too far forward, had to step back, had to try it again. I want to make sure I develop a culture of my horses of wanting to learn, and it's okay to learn. So that way he can take that information in and we can have conversations and we can do things with it. So I'm pretty happy about what we're seeing right now. He's ridden past other horses. He's gone up on the pedestal. We've kind of moved around a little bit. Understands the walking, the halting, some backing up stuff. So it's looking pretty promising at this point as to what he's doing. And like I said, I really didn't know how much I was going to accomplish in this ride. He gets to dictate the session. And because he's feeling so relaxed, I'm like, okay, well, we can go a little bit more, or we can try this because you're telling me that you're ready. So after we kind of did all this sort of stuff, and it's only been less than 13 minutes on his back, I'm like, well, let's try a little bit of trot. And the trot is totally not a big deal at all. He just goes into it and he's super easy about it. Offer him those cookies. Want to make sure he knows that he's a special boy. He's doing absolutely fantastic. And then I'm like, okay, let's try turning the other way. And then the goal is to do a little trot in this direction as well. And so this is really testy here. He's going past a clump of other horses. And it's not even just that they're riding in the ring with me. When horses stand in a group like that, it makes it hard for a horse wanting to leave that comfort. They see them standing, hanging out together, and they're like, man, that looks like a pretty good deal right there. So we're a little bit slower to get our trot going in this direction, but he still does it. So I'm still going to reward him because at this point in the training, this is all new and whatever he's offering is super fantastic. I don't need to get him in trouble for not doing quite enough, or it's not straight enough, or it's not bent enough, or whatever the case may be, because at the end of the day, I need horses that can trust me. So I need to be rewarding frequently so that way it's no big deal for him. We're not asking too much of him. So this is pretty cool. He rides into the little group of horses here. We have a little chat. We're kind of hanging out with them a little bit. And He's, like, really eager to go see Nova. Nova is very cute. I understand. She's very cute. And my favorite part is that I'm able to leave this group of other horses, and he's not, really upset or anything like that, and that's really key. A little bit of a gauge of, whether or not he'll be able to trail ride by himself. I totally think so because he's able to handle his emotions on his own. So we did one more little trot there, and I decided to just wrap up with that because really he made so much progress, and what an amazing first ride. There wasn't not one buck or even an inkling to buck. He was super duper fantastic. So I would love to hear what you guys think as to how he's coming along. I'm pretty excited for him though, and excited to see what happens next.